Hi everyone, welcome back to Profess and Protest. I'm Audrey, and if you are new here today, please subscribe, like, comment, and check out some of my older videos. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about transgender people and the statistics that follow with regrets, remorse, and the fact of underage transitioning before puberty and how parents are imposing that on children. So to start off, I came across a very interesting article that was posted September 8th, so this is actually very new. And it talks of an Australian boy who wants to be a girl. And it reads, a 12-year-old Australian transgender boy who was transitioned into a girl 2 years ago. So stop right there. He was 10 years old when he went through the process of hormone replacements and all of this other stuff. At 10 years old, you do not know what you are supposed to be. The media, between everything going on in the world, it is impacting people before they don't even realize it. And I understand that this is real to this person, this 10-year-old, when they felt this way, but this is a mental disorder. It's, it's under dysphoria. It's identity dysphoria. They don't understand that they feel out of the wrong body. And I do believe in mental illnesses. I do believe that people genuinely feel this way. But again, like I said, it's a mental disorder, and it's been classified as that. So to go on, he said, who transitioned into a girl 2 years ago, is featured in an upcoming episode of Australian 60 Minutes where he reveals that he no longer wants to be a girl. And this which brings my topic up of regrets. Even somebody who is 12, a 12-year-old boy, realized that he did not any longer want to be a girl. And see, for the most part, the transgender community and people who are advocates for it swear up and down that it's very rare that people regret transitioning. And they try to say that it's just, a fluke and that there's only a very small percentage. And the ones that did transition back to what they naturally were actually confused and never really transgender to begin with, which I don't believe to be true whatsoever, because I'll get into statistics in just a moment. And I'll continue. After doctors diagnosed Patrick Mitchell with gender dysphoria, he begged his mother to let him be a female or him take female replacement hormones, the Independent reported. The gender dysphoria is considered by the American Psychiatry Association to be a, I quote, mental disorder, while the World Health Organization recognizes it as a mental illness. Regardless, it's something mental. People suffer with anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. This is amongst all of them, okay? This is a disorder. Just the way that if you have depression, which I have suffered from, and I've openly talked about that depression and anxiety, I get help. I don't embrace it, because if you embrace your depression, that could lead to very dark places, and it could lead to suicide. So if I just chose to embrace my depression, it could lead, to suicide. Not saying that I was that low, but you never know how bad it can get. That's why we get help, and that's why God has placed doctors here on earth to help us. And this world is imperfect. We're a fallen world, and that's why we have all these disorders and issues and things going on in our heads. Spiritual warfare, a lot of that. And these are people who don't know Christ, so they don't understand what's really going on. It's nothing that you can see. It's spiritual. It's among the realms. You can't see what's really going on unless you are aware and you're woken up. And it continues. You wish you could just change everything about you. You just see any girl and you'd say, I'd kill to be like that. And this is the boy Mitchell talking about this in an interview. And it goes on saying, Mitchell received support from his mother to begin transitioning, and after taking hormones, he began to grow breasts. And you have to understand, these parents are just as much liable for these kids. To me, this is child abuse. I would understand, you can't control people 18 and up or, 17, where they're older and they want to make that decision for themselves. Not that I support it. I don't hate transgender people. It's not a hateful thing. I'm just saying that as a parent, letting your child undergo such extreme changes to the body and completely trying to redo everything about them. But the one thing you can't redo is your DNA. DNA is XY and XX. XY, you're a boy. XX, you're a girl. And that's the truth. You can change your looks. You can get implants. You can get surgeries. You can put a lot of makeup on. You can do anything to feel like a girl, and vice versa for women who want to feel like men. They can take their breasts off and, get a completely like there never was anything there. But at the end of the day, even mentally, if you feel okay in that, there is still a problem because no matter what, you were born the way you were supposed to be born. And regardless, because the mental condition tells you otherwise. So, of course, I'm sympathetic to the fact that this is a true mental disease. So it's not like I'm sitting up here being hateful, but I am sitting up here saying that this is a mental disease and this shouldn't be embraced. This shouldn't be, you know, sought after, and people shouldn't be encouraging children to transition. These parents, I understand, think they're doing what's right, but this is child abuse, and this should be considered child abuse. And in Canada, it's child abuse if you don't get your kid the right hormone treatment under the age before puberty, then you are a child abuser and could go jail for that and lose your kid to DSS. It's so backwards. It's insane. And I just have to say that. And also, your frontal lobe doesn't completely close to the age of 25 years old. You're fully not matured, and this is scientific research, until you are 25, and that's when the frontal part of your lobe finally closes, and you can make more rash decisions. And you got to think, these are 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, even teenagers. They change their minds all the time. So you're saying, well, what if they're adult and they still feel this way? Well, then they need help. They need to seek treatment. And, of course, you know, feeling like transitioning will help. In the long haul, it's not going to. Maybe in the beginning it'll be euphoric and you'll feel awesome, but that will wear off. And I'll get to that in a moment with statistics about real people who are transgender and how they felt in the beginning and what happened later with the regrets. And as I read on, in the beginning of 2017, teachers at school began to refer to him as a girl, which triggered Mitchell to question if he had made the right decision, the Independent added. After reflecting on the decision to become a girl, Mitchell decided that he no longer wanted to be a girl. And he quotes, "I began to realize I was actually comfortable in my body. Every day I just felt better," Mitchell said. Mitchell has stopped taking female hormones as he attempts to go back to being a boy and is expected to have surgery to remove the breasts he grew during his time as a girl. So this is not uncommon. This is something the trans community and LGBTQ community doesn't want to recognize, that there are these cases and a lot more than likes to be spoken about, because if this is spoken more about, then it would kill the movement for trans, because they feel that this would threaten them and make them not as legitimate. And this is a thing that needs to be talked about just as much as people want to talk about how they were born in the wrong body. We need to talk about the people who realized that this wasn't right and this went deeper, much deeper. And it's just, it keeps going on. But I will leave the link below for that. So next point that I wanted to get to, I gotta find it right here. To find the studies. I'm sorry guys, I'm looking for the studies. Alright, so the next part I want to talk about is the regret. I had all of these penned. I'm sorry. Sorry guys, I'm kind of all over today. We're under tornado watch right now, so I'm trying to just do this video quick. It's not bad until his tornado warning, but I just wanted to get this video in because when I came across this article, it definitely disturbed me, because it just brings up the point that this kind of child abuse is socially acceptable, which it shouldn't be. This should not be embraced. This should be strongly helped and discouraged, and getting them help with love, obviously, and instead of just, you know, egging it on. So here's the studies. A study from Boston published earlier this year in the Journal of Adolescent Health reported that 108 transsexual youth, 106 female to male, 74 male to female, had twofold to threefold increased risks of psychiatric disorders, including depression, anxiety disorder, suicidal ideation, suicidal attempt, self-harm without lethal intent, in both inpatient and outpatient mental health treatment compared to a controlled group of youth. And these are just the statistics showing how much more, like even after they're transitioned and they have the euphoric state and they're feeling great, it hits them after. I mean, immediately they're going to feel like, oh, yes, this is how I'm supposed to be. But why doesn't the depression, anxiety go away? Why is it still lingering? Because there's still something not right. And it didn't fulfill them the way that they expected it to. And in that point, if I put myself in their shoes, I would feel like, oh, yeah, this would definitely have to make me whole, because now I have all the parts that makes me a legitimate male or female, whichever way you want to put it. But the truth is, they still suffer because they still never genuinely feel accepted in society and accepted by themselves, because the truth is, there are people who will accept them, and some people do accept themselves, but the hard truth is, is they can't accept themselves, and society still has problem accepting it, because the truth is you are born who you are born as. And yes, you could feel something else, and I would never wish that upon even my worst enemy, because I can only imagine how tough that must feel to be fighting in yourself something that you know is wrong and different, and then embracing it and trying to stand out and say, hey, I'm not scared anymore. But the truth is, like I said, it's not healthy, it's not right, and that's why depression lingers, suicidal attempts, it's high amongst that. It's not that everybody's going around bullying them, and I know there are bullies, but it's a lot of activists out there supporting them. And even with this big movement, even after Obama made gay marriage legalized, and there's been all these movements going on, they still feel incomplete. And that's why it's always being shoved down our throats, because they want to be fully accepted, but the truth is they cannot even fully accept themselves. And so it goes on to say, although the authors were sympathetic, they still commented that a significantly higher proportion of transgender adolescent and emerging adult patients were burdened by mental health concerns than cisgender youth. A study published in PLOS One in 2011 of over 300 people who had undergone sex reassignment surgery in Sweden over the past 30 years reached a very somber conclusion. And it reads, persons with transsexualism after sex reassignment have considerably higher risk for mortality, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity than the general population. Our findings suggest that sex reassignment, although alleviating gender dysphoria, may not suffice as treatment for transsexualism, and should inspire improvement in psychiatric and somatic care after sex reassignment surgery for this patient group. And this just goes to show, as you know, there's more studies in this, just one study that I found, that are showing that even after it's done, you know, yeah, they feel good, but there's something always missing. They're never fully feeling completely like the gender they want to be, and that's because you can never achieve that because you were not born that way. And there's help out there for people, and there's a lot of people who love non-judgment, just want to help you, because it's not healthy and it's completely going against everything in God's creation. That's why there's a lot of confusion around. You know, the devil is the father of all lies, and he will lie to you and you will believe it. I've been in spots where I believe certain things about myself, and that's how good the devil is. He will lie to you, make you really believe it. And then also in the fallen world, between the chemicals, the stuff, you know, the shots that you get probably when you're pregnant, and make things that could interact with the fetus's brain as they are growing into the baby that they are going to be. Anything can impact that. So they could pop out at, you know, a year old, 2 years old, and think, all right, like, you know, I knew since I was 2 or 3 that I was supposed to be this or this. There is chemicals in the food we eat as pregnant women. When we eat these foods, we don't know what the government's injecting them with. Not just the GMOs, all the other substances we can't even, half of us can't even pronounce. And you wonder what that's doing to the baby growing inside of you. So it's not always just, you know, a devil attacking everybody, which of course he is through foods, but this is also something, scientifically speaking, that can affect the membranes in a baby's head as they're growing in utero. And this is something that I thought long and hard about after I had my kids. And I didn't really think about, but everything's injected with poison to kill us, meant to depopulate us, everything meant to mess up our heads. You know, that's how you get, you know, mutations when babies are born, because they're born into a fallen world. God did not make them like that. And the argument is, well, God, if, you know, he made me like this, obviously, so it's his fault. And everybody loves to blame God. And my point is that you can't blame God when the government is injecting fluoride into our water. There's so much things going on, and you have to think about, step back, think how that mentally is affecting us. With depression, anxiety, anything, they actually have a study that shows that anxiety and depression have to do with your gut. And that's what foods you put in can actually increase your anxiety. And I'm not just talking about coffee with anxiety, but bad foods and the chemicals in them can actually react with your brain, because, you know, it goes right back up there, and that can actually affect your mental health, the foods you eat. So you just have to take that into consideration too, stuff I've researched before. And so the last point that I wanted to get into, let's bring it up right here, was the regret of transgender people, youth, older people. I need all of them alike. And this is the last thing I want to get into to kind of close my statement about how I felt when I read that article. Just, it's upsetting to see that children are undergoing this, and their argument is, well, if they don't undergo it early, then after they hit puberty, they're going to have a deep voice or high-pitched voice if they're female, and it will be harder transition, which it is a harder transition, but at least they're legal adults. And the thing is, as a parent, you can't control your kid. You can control your kids as much as you want. You can pray for them, but at the end of the day, they are going to do what they want to do, and the only thing you can do is pray for them. But the part is, initiating and pushing on them. Yes, okay, you're a girl. Okay, let's start this right away. Let's go right for this. Or you're a boy. Let's go right for this. And they're little kids. Your parents were supposed to be protecting our children, and even from themselves. And the thing is, doesn't mean we have to not love them. Doesn't mean we hate them. You can love your kid through any mental disorders, many mental disorders, psychosis. There's so much things, schizophrenia, and parents love their kids through it, but they don't embrace it. They just get them help, and that's the way that they love them. They don't tell them that they're not going to amount to anything. I guess there are parents like that, but the normal, healthy, loving parent does not talk to their kids like that. And kids who feel the transgender or have dysphoria about their body, you treat it the same way you would any other mental disease. You love them through it, and you get them help. And that's how it should be. So the argument of, parents, oh, they hate transgender kids. What if your kid was transgender? I would get them the necessary help they need, and I would go to church, and I would pray my heart out for them. Would I stop loving them? No. Nothing could make me stop loving my kids. But I would pray. I would pray for them, and I would do everything in my best ability to help them get through this. And with God's help, of course, anything is possible. Just can't give up. So this article says, regret isn't rare. The dangerous lie of sex change surgery successes. And it goes on to read, we have been told sex reassignment surgery is successful. The advocates say that regret is rare and that 98% of the surgeries are successful. While that figure might be true for surgical complications, before we accept a narrative of surgical success, we should consider the evidence. To evaluate success or failure, we need to go beyond the mechanical skill of the surgeon to examine the emotional and psychological wholeness of the patient afterwards, and not just in the first few months, but in the years to come. And I'll stop right there too. There's a lot of things where in the first years they feel awesome, they feel complete, and they're doing great. And then, boom, a crash happens. Something happens where it's like they're up here, and then they dip all the way down, then boom, depression hits, because it didn't fix the mental problem. It fixed it temporarily. It fixed the outer problem, not the inside, the eternal problem. And it goes on to read, transgender advocates have worked to create a false narrative, hoodwinking the world into believing that no one has ever had regrets from a surgical change of gender. They say the transgender ideology they promote is harmless, safe, even beneficial. But what happens when we dismiss the rhetoric, look at the research, and apply basic critical thinking? We see the reports of success fade and those regret rise. 12 years ago, The Guardian reported that an interview of more than 100, or a review of more than 100 international medical studies of postoperative transgender patients by the University of Birmingham, aggressive research intelligence facility found, and I quote, no robust scientific evidence that gender reassignment surgery is clinically effective. Research from the US and Holland suggests that up to a fifth of patients regret changing sex. Shortly after undergoing sex change surgery, most people report feeling better. Over time, however, the initial euphoria wears off. And that's exactly what I was just saying, because I've read this on many more articles, statistics, everything else. It's not like I just kind of pulled it out of somewhere. And I'll leave all the links below so you guys can check it out for yourself. And also, I always encourage, please do your own research about this and the statistical findings of this, which I've done, and it's very compelling. So I'll go on. Over time, however, the initial euphoria wears off. The distress returns, but this time is exacerbated by having a body that is irrevocably molded to look like the opposite gender. That's what happened to me, and that's what the people with regret who write to me say happened to them. This is a person personally talking about their regret, and they have tons of people who have written them about their regret. And like I said, the mainstream media will never concentrate on the regret. It's all about once it's complete, they're full, they're whole, and they feel amazing, and life is just better. And now they're exactly who they were meant to be. But nobody wants to talk about the regrets, the problems afterwards, and it never happens initially, like they're saying. Some do, but most time it happens after a few years. And there's many testimonies online of people who are transgender or embrace being transgender and realize that's not even what they wanted. So I hope that this is something you guys go and look into and can help educate other people about. And I will see you guys next time. So may Yahweh bless you all.